I'm Alexis, aka The Soft Reader, and I'm here today to do my September book haul. I bought quite a few books in the month of September, all of which, except for one, are brand new releases in the late end of summer, early fallish time. They're all books I'm pretty excited about. A couple of these I have actually read, I had ARCs for. So yeah, quite a few of them. I'll just go ahead and get into it. The first book I'm going to mention is the one not brand new release on this list, and that is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This is a thriller that I don't really know anything about. The reason I decided to pick this one up is actually because Chelsea over at Chelsea Doling Reads had mentioned, I think it was in her drunk book tag video, that this is one of the most effed up books she's ever read, which made it interesting to me. Like, I was intrigued to pick it up. And it was only like $6.50 at my local Books A Million, so I was like, alrighty, I'll get it. So that's what I did. So I'm intrigued to definitely pick this up because I've heard it's real dark. So yeah, I'm excited. The next book I'm going to mention was my Book of the Month Club pick for the month of September, and that was Emma in the Night by Wendy Walker. This is actually just the dust jacket. I'm actually currently reading this book right now. This is actually about a sister named Cass, who has just returned from a 3-year-long disappearance following a night in which her and her sister Emma had randomly disappeared without a trace. So it follows Cass as she has returned, and she's kind of telling the story of where she and Emma have been for the past 3 years. But it also follows Abby Winters, who is actually a forensic psychologist. And Abby was one of the first people assigned to this case when it first broke 3 years prior. And she nearly almost ruined her career being obsessed with it, and so it's about her being back on the case and kind of what that means for her, and as she's trying to figure out the story, but also trying to almost prove herself right in her initial reactions to this case. So yeah, I'm about 100 pages into it, so stay tuned to my October wrap-up to see how I feel about this one. The next 3 books I'm going to mention are all, like I said, books I have previously read before. The first of which is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. If you're curious to know my thoughts on this one, you can check out my August wrap-up. I read it in August as an ARC. This is Adam Silvera's 3rd novel, and this is basically about a future in which there is a service called Deathcast, which calls you on the day which you are going to die, and they tell you, hey, you've got at most 24 hours to live. Get your affairs in order, do everything you've wanted to do. And we follow our main characters, Rufus and Mateo, as they are on their last days. And they become friends via an app called the Last Friend app, and it's about them just kind of living their last day together, getting to know each other, and also getting to know a lot about themselves. This is a really unique writing style where it follows Mateo and Rufus, but it also follows a plethora of side characters and a plethora of characters that seem unimportant, but later play a bigger role in the story. So yeah, this is my favorite of Adam's novels so far. And at first I really didn't like this cover, and then I fell in love with this cover, like, once I saw it in person. It's much, much prettier in person, and it's, like, got these beautiful end pages, and just, yeah, I wanted to support Adam since I really enjoyed this novel. The next book I'm going to mention is One Dark Throne by Kendar Blake. This is the 2nd book in the 3 Dark Crowns series. This, again, is the 2nd book in the series. I have already read it. If you'd like to know my thoughts on it, you can go to my September wrap-up. This follows an island in which there are triplets, and each sister is taken and raised by a different magical faction on this island, and they're all trained to fight to the death when they turn 16 to be the rightful queen of this island. And so you follow Arsinoe, who is a naturalist, you follow Mirabella, who's an elemental, and then you follow Catherine, who is a poisoner. And this story is basically about the queens and the different factions they belong to, and the magic and the politics and the history of this island as the sisters are all kind of fighting to stay alive. 3 Dark Crowns was one of my favorite books of last year. I have already read this, I got an ARC of it, and I'm really excited to see where the series goes in the future. The next and final book I'm going to mention of the ones that I have already read is Before She Ignites by Jodi Meadows. This is the 1st book in a new trilogy called the Fallen Isles trilogy. This basically follows our main character Mira, who is named after a famous treaty that was born around the same time she was. And so she is known across the Fallen Isles, where she lives, as the Hope Bearer. And one day she discovers a secret, and when she tries to act on that secret, she actually gets imprisoned in, like, the cruelest jail in the Fallen Isles. And so you are following Mira as she's trying to survive in this prison, but she's also trying to figure out, you know, how her secret plays into a bigger role, while also trying to fend off people who want her for the secret that she in fact knows. And it kind of goes, there's a lot that takes place prior to her imprisonment that kind of leads up to the story, while the present is set in the prison. If you'd like to see my thoughts on this, please also check out my September wrap-up, so yes. The next book I'm going to mention is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardust. This is actually a Snow White retelling, in which it follows the evil queen and Snow White and kind of the two different lives these women lead, but also like their relationship between them and how they affect each other's lives. And so it's a fairy tale retelling. I've heard it's very dark. I've heard it's like a quieter novel. And honestly, this one wasn't on my radar at first because I don't love fairy tale retellings. But Cece over at Problems with the Book Nerd really ended up loving this, and she rated it really highly, and so that made me really interested in it, so yeah, I hope I enjoy it. The next book I'm going to mention is one of my most anticipated releases for the second half of the year, and that is Warcross by Marie Lu. I haven't read this yet. I want to read it. Every day I look at it, I want to pick it up, and also it's like this absolutely stunning like Lu that like takes my breath away. It's so beautiful. And I do want to say, okay, when this cover first came out, I hated it. But this is another cover where I like it a lot more in person. In person, it looks a lot better to me than it did when I just saw a picture of it on the internet. So I do have to commend them for that. This is Marie Lu's newest novel that basically follows our main character, Amika Chen, who is actually a hacker in this world where there is a virtual reality game called Warcross that is kind of the crazed game. Everybody plays it, everybody's into it, and Amika actually gets hired by the creator of the game to hunt down someone who is like taking over the game or something like that. You guys know I love video games, so books about video games I have like a love-hate relationship with. I think half of the ones I've read I've enjoyed, the other half I've hated. So I'm really intrigued. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Marie Lu. And so I'm just super excited to check this out. I've heard really great things, and I really hope I like it. The next one I'm going to mention is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. This is Stephanie Perkins' foray into romance horror in the YA genre. This, I have to say, is a cover that I liked the first time I saw it, but I love it in person. Like, real talk, this might actually be one of my favorite covers I've ever seen, because I love pink. And I love how ominous this cover looks, but it's also like hella pretty, so that's not important. So this is about our main character, Makani, who has lived in like a small Nebraska town for years. She's haunted by this past that she left behind in Hawaii, and basically one by one, students at her high school start showing up dead in really gruesome ways. To be honest, I've heard really bad things about this. I don't think I've heard a really good review yet. I've heard that this is very much like in the vein of a slasher film, but with a lot of romance to it. I'm intrigued to know how I feel about it because you guys know I love horror films. Like, horror films are my jam. But like, I'm just intrigued to know how I feel about it. The next book I'm going to mention is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This follows our main character, Isabel, who basically is a painter in this world in which there are fairies, or fae, who cannot create art. They lose the ability to craft. And so Isabel is actually hired by the Autumn Prince to paint a picture of him, and in her picture she actually shows him with weakness in his eyes, like he's displaying an emotion that's considered weak. And so basically he takes in Isabel to punish her. I've heard really mixed things about the book itself. The two reasons I really wanted to buy it, the first being the cover is absolutely gorgeous. And the second is that the last time me and my really good friend Erica hung out, she was actually reading an arc of this, and she was really enjoying it at the time, and I very much trust her opinion on books, so I'm intrigued to give this one a shot. It's a lot smaller than I thought it was. I was expecting it to be a lot bigger of a book, but let's be honest, the cover's still absolutely beautiful. The last book I'm going to mention was another one of my most anticipated releases for the year, and that is The Language of Thorns, Midnight Tales, and Dangerous Magic by Leigh Bardugo. This is a set of 6 fairy tales set in the Grisha universe by Leigh Bardugo, the same world which her Shadow and Bone trilogy and Six of Crows duology exist in. This is 6 illustrated fairy tales set in that universe. I have already peeked at some of the illustrations, and they are honestly really beautiful, like take your breath away beautiful. This is one of the ones I think she actually showed on her website, but they are just really, really beautiful. And I'm intrigued to pick this up. I also have to say I love the way that this book is made. The cover almost feels like it's actually sewn on. And I don't know what material the like dust jacket is made of, but it actually feels like somebody sewed it onto the dust jacket, which is super cool. I also want to mention how beautiful, like, the freaking, like, naked spine of this book is. It's gorgeous. Like, the whole thing is just a work of art. And I want to mention, actually, I pre-ordered this book, which actually I pre-ordered a lot of the books on this list, which is rare for me. I usually never pre-order books, but September was like a crazy month, so I went ahead and pre-ordered everything. That being said, when you pre-ordered this one, you got a cute little enamel pin that I don't know what I'm going to put on, but I got this nifty little enamel pin to go with it for my pre-order, which was pretty exciting. So yeah, that was a neat thing I got, and I'm super excited to check this one out. Alright guys, those were all of the books I bought in the month of September. If you've read any of these and you want to tell me about them, I'd love to hear your opinions. Also, I'd love to know what was your favorite purchase you purchased in the month of September. And I will see you guys soon with another video.